We're looking for a cause and effect in science. In a true, what we call a single variable experiment, we only want to change one thing at a time. The variable that we change, what we're trying to actually test in our hypothesis or experiment, is called the independent variable. And the dependent variable is what happens, what we're actually trying to measure. We sometimes call it the responding variable. If I do this, then the dependent variable happens. If we use the template of if and then, it becomes really easy for us because the if is going to be the independent variable always. And the then is going to be the dependent. Once you know your variables, you just write them in that order and your hypothesis is done. So the independent variable, as you can see in this diagram, is the type of liquid used. Some of the plants are getting Coke, some of the plants are getting water. That's what we changed. The independent variable is what we changed, what we want to test. Plant A was Coke, plant B was Diet Coke, and plant C was water. And we use the same amount of liquid for each plant. Independent variable, the type of liquid. Dependent variable, what are we actually going to measure? We're going to grab a meter stick each day and we're going to measure how tall the plant is. We want quantitative data, a number, and we want to be very specific. We don't want to say how big the plant gets or how green the plant gets, or if I pour Coke on my plant, then it will grow healthier. How do I measure healthier? You can't. That's not a good dependent variable. So you want to be very specific. In this case, height in centimeters. And then controls, things that we're going to keep the same. Okay, so we're going to keep the soil the same, the time of day, the exposure to light, all the things that are constant between the three plants. That's our hypothesis, right? If I water my plant with Coke instead of water, then it will grow taller because, and then we suggest a reason why. Independent variable, water with Coke. Dependent variable, it will grow taller. Make a prediction. Okay, so it's directional, right? Our independent variable, I'm increasing the amount of Coke. Our dependent variable, I say that the plant is going to grow taller. Directions, more of this, less of that. Higher, lower. Taller, shorter. Now there is something called a control group, and that would be more appropriate if I wanted to do 2 milliliters of Coke, 4 milliliters of Coke, 8 milliliters of Coke. So my independent variable in this case would be the amount of Coke. And then I would have to set up a whole second range of plants where I did 2 milliliters of water, 4 milliliters of water, 8 milliliters of water. And so the plants that were fed with water would be called the control group. That means we're just putting them under normal conditions. We're going to keep this simple, right? Hypothesis, 3 parts, and I'm really worried about the first 2 parts. Independent, dependent. What's changing? What is being measured?